Good afternoon, students. Today we are discussing the important question answer from the chapter How do organisms reproduce? Yes, already we have discussed some questions related to this chapter. So let us continue this chapter. What is the first question? Yes, please note down the question. Yes, here in human reproduction, the placenta performs a significant role in the development of fetus into child. Justify this statement. And how can DNA copying be decided as one of the ways of reproduction in lower organisms? Please note down the question. After that, we are discussing the answers. Yes, after fertilization, the lining of the uterus thickens and is richly supplied with the blood to nourish the growing embryo. And mainly, embryo gets nutrition from the mother's blood with the help of special tissue called placenta. So this placenta that is embedded in the uterine wall, and that is the disc-shaped structure, and it contains the villi on the embryo side of the tissue and blood spaces on the mother's side surrounding the villi, and it also provides the surface area from mother to the embryo and the waste products from the embryo to mother. So like that, which removes the waste product from the mother's uh, embryo to the mother's body, and it also provides the important nutrients like glucose and other nutrients to the embryo from the mother's blood. That is the important functions of the placenta. Next question. How father is responsible to determine the sex of the child in the humans? Explain. In human beings, sperm always contains either X, just imagine this is the sperm, which contain either X or Y chromosome. Here, the female gamete egg contained always X chromosome. During the fertilization, when the X chromosome of the sperm, where the sperm containing the X chromosome fuses with the egg, the resulting baby will be girl, that is XX chromosome. And if the sperm which is having the Y chromosome fuses with the egg which is having the X chromosome, the resulting baby will be boy. So thus the human sperm, they contain either X or Y chromosomes. So the father is responsible to determine the sex of the child in the humans. So one of the important question here. Next question. What is asexual reproduction? Name the type of asexual reproduction that takes place in planaria and rhizopus. Here, what is asexual reproduction? Asexual reproduction, which is where the single parent is involved, where there is no fusion of the male and female gametes takes place. So that is where the single parents is able to produce the new organism, that is the asexual reproduction. And name the type of asexual reproduction that takes place in planaria and rhizopus. In case of the planaria, the asexual reproduction type that is called as regeneration, and rhizopus, they produce the through the spores, they produce the spores. So that is the two type of the sexual reproduction that found in planaria and rhizopus. Then next question. What is the role of testes and prostate gland in the human male reproductive system? Testes, they produces the sperms, and also testes are responsible for the production of the testosterone hormone. Testosterone hormone. Testes, which produces the testosterone hormone, and which are also produces the sperms. And testosterone hormone, that is able to uh, that is responsible for the changes that occur in the during the puberty in the males. Then what is the function of the prostate gland? Prostate gland, that helps for the transportation of the sperms to the female body and also provide the nutrition for the sperms. That is the function of the prostate gland. Next question. Is it self-pollination possible in flowers having only stamen? Clarify your answer. If the flower that is having the only stamen, this self-pollination is not possible because just imagine the flower which contain only male gamete. Just imagine only male reproductive structure. So just this is the male reproductive structure. Self-pollination is not possible in that flower because only male stamen, that is the male reproductive structure, only male gametes will be produced by that flower. So self-pollination is not possible. So it should perform the cross-pollination. The gametes that should reach the stigma of the another flower, then the pollination is possible. Very important question. Explain the process of seed formation in a flower. Explain the process of seed formation in a flower. Here, after the pollination, pollen tube grows out of the pollen grain and travels through the style and reach the ovary. So there is a fertilization takes place, and the male germ cell fuses with the female gamete in the ovule to form the zygote. Then the zygote divides several times to form the embryo within the ovule. Embryo which is formed inside the ovule. Then ovule develops a tough coat and becomes seed, and ovary grows rapidly and ripens to form the fruit. Then petals and sepals, stamens, style and stigma shrivel and fall off. And the seed contains embryo that will develop into a future plant, that is a future plant, and which develops into seedling under the suitable condition. So during germination. So, if you open the seed, you can observe the dicotyledon seed. You can observe the two cotyledons and plumule and the radicle. So, you can observe the different structure in the seed. So, like this, the development of the seed formation takes place after the fertilization in plants. Next question. How does a fertilized egg in the uterus develop into an embryo? How does this embryo get nourishment in the mother's womb? Explain. Please note down this question. How does a fertilized egg in the uterus develop into an embryo? How the development of the embryo takes place, and how does this embryo get nourishment in the mother's womb? So that is also important question. Here, the uterus prepares every month to receive and nurture the embryo. The lining of the embryo thick and spongy. It has rich supply of blood to the nourish the embryo. And placenta, that is the nourishing, which is helping for embryo for the nourishment process, and the tissue embedded in the uterine wall, and it connects the fetus to the mother, and it contains the villi on the mother's side, and on the other mother's side, it contains the space surrounding the villi, and it also provides the placenta nourishment, which provides the glucose and the other nutrients to the developing embryo, and also helpful for the removal of the waste products from the developing embryo, so which remove the waste to the mother's blood. So like this, the placenta, which is helping in the development of the embryo or nourishment of the embryo. Next question: what are the advantage of sexual reproduction over the asexual reproduction? Please note down the question. What are the advantages of sexual reproduction over the asexual reproduction? Here, advantages of the sexual reproduction, which is the combining of two different genetic materials resulting in an offspring that share the similar traits with their parents but are genetically diverse. So they are similar to their parents, but they have genetic difference compared to their parents. And the large number of species with variation are produced, and it ensures the survival of the species in a population. And the newly formed individual has characteristics of two genetically different parents, and variation are more viable in sexual reproduction, the which cause the sexual reproduction, the sexual reproduction, which leads to the speciation, and which helps to the adaptation, to adapt the new condition of the environment. So these are the some advantages of the sexual reproduction. Next question. In humans, how the surgical contraceptive methods can be used to prevent the pregnancy? Surgical contraceptive methods, very important question. Here, if the vas difference in the male is blocked, sperm transfer will be prevented, and it is also called as vasectomy. If the fallopian tube in the female is blocked, the egg will not be able to reach the uterus. In both cases, fertilization will not take place. So these both are the surgical methods of the contraceptive method, and these surgical methods can be used to create such blocks. Okay, so these are the vasectomy and tubectomy. Vasectomy means vas difference is block, cut and blocked, and tubectomy means fallopian tube is cut and blocked. That is called as a tubectomy. Yeah, surgical methods can be used to create this type of the surgical methods that can be used to create such blocks. Next question: what does menstruation? Why does menstruation occur? How menstruation occurs? So these are the different questions. If egg does not get fertilized, then the lining of the uterus breaks down slowly and comes out in the form of blood and mucus from the vagina. This is the complete process of menstruation. So if the fertilization not occur, then the inner lining of the uterus that breaks down, and that is the reason for the menstruation cycle. Next question. Draw the diagram showing the germination of pollen on stigma. This is also important question. Draw the diagram showing the germination of pollen on stigma. Here, yes, this is the diagram. So very important diagram. Repeatedly, this question will be was asked in the different question paper. Please note down the question and practice this diagram. Okay, pollen grains and pollen tube, ovary, female germ cell. So everything you have to label. Next question. How are the modes of reproduction different in unicellular and multicellular organisms? Here, in unicellular organisms, reproduction takes place by fission and budding. But in case of multicellular organisms, the reproduction takes place by regeneration, budding, vegetative propagation, spore formation, and sexual reproduction. So these are the different types of the reproduction that are found in multicellular organisms, and only few type of the reproduction method found in the unicellular organisms. Next question. What are the advantages of vegetative propagation? Here, the plants raised by vegetative propagation can bear flowers and fruits earlier than those produced from seeds. And such methods also make possible the propagation of plants such as banana, orange, rose, jasmine that have lost their capacity to produce the seeds. These plants, they are not able to produce the seeds, but their propagation is done by the type of reproduction, that is the vegetative propagation. Another advantage of vegetative propagation is that all plants produced are genetically similar enough to that parent plant to have all its characteristics. So that is the advantages of the vegetative reproduction. Explain any one type of the asexual reproduction. Any one type. There are different types of the asexual reproduction we have studied in this chapter. That is budding or fragmentation, regeneration or spore formation. These are the different methods of the asexual reproduction. Any one type. So here budding. Okay. So you can explain any type of the asexual reproduction. Here I will explain about the budding. So in Hydra and in East also, there is a special type of the asexual reproduction found, that is called as a budding. In Hydra or in East also, bud develops as an outgrowth due to the repeated cell division at one into tiny individuals and one specific site. These birds develop fully mature, detached. When they fully mature, they detach from the parent body, then they become new independent individuals. So that is the budding type of the reproduction. So you can explain any type. You can explain the fragmentation, binary fission, or vegetative reproduction, or spore formation. Any type of the reproduction you can explain. What are the different methods of contraception? What are the different methods of contraception here? So here the contraception methods that includes the condoms, diaphragms and pills, implants and sterilization techniques, that is surgical sterilization techniques or IUDs. So these all are the contraception or birth control methods. Here some method that is used as a barrier in between where the transfer of the male and female gametes will not takes place, that are nothing but the most common barrier, that is the condoms. Then oral contraceptives means tablets, hormone containing tablets that releases, that is taken orally, and which prevent the release of egg and the fertilization also not occur. And some surgical methods, for example copper T wires are that are implanted inside the uterus, which prevent the pregnancy. And surgical methods where the vas difference is cut and tied, and the fallopian tube also cut and tied, where there is no transformation of the sperm and egg takes place. So that is called as vasectomy and tubectomy. So these are the surgical methods of the uh, these are the some surgical methods of contraceptive. Okay. What would be the reasons for adopting contraceptive methods? The reasons for adopting contraceptive methods are: couples are not interested to get issues early, pregnancy will make major demand on the body and the mind of the woman, and if she is not ready for it, her health will be adversely affected. There may be a pressure to avoid having children from the government agencies, that is also a one method. Next question: how does reproduction help in providing stability to populations of species? How does reproduction help in providing stability to populations of species? Here, populations of organisms fill well defined places or niches in the ecosystem, and the consistency of DNA copying during the reproduction is important for the maintenance of the body design feature that allow the organism to use that particular niche. So the reproduction is therefore linked to the stability of the population of species. How does the embryo get nourishment inside the mother's body? That is the next question. How does the embryo get nourishment inside the mother's body? After fertilization, the lining of the uterus thickens and richly supplied with the blood to nourish the growing embryo. and the embryo gets nutrition from the mother's blood with the help of special tissue called placenta. Placenta is helping the um, nourishment of the embryo, and also which helps in the removal of the waste products from the embryo to the mother, always which always helps in the providing the nutrients like glucose to the growing embryo, and also removes the waste products. And it is embedded in the uterine wall, and placenta contains villi on the embryo side and tissues and blood spaces on the mother side surrounding the villi. If a woman is using a copper tea, will it help in the protecting her from sexually transmitted diseases? Just say the copper tea that is used to prevent the pregnancy that is kept in the uterus, but which is not helping in the sexual preventing the sexually transmitted diseases, because these diseases that may transfer during the intercourse, so she is not able to protecting her from sexually transmitted disease. Just see the answer. Copper T is inserted in female body to react with the semen entering with the egg in uterus. Copper ions prevent the pregnancy by inhibiting the movement of sperm, and because the copper ion containing fluids are toxic to sperm, but it do not stop entrance of the fluids inside the female body, hence it will not protect women from sexually transmitted disease. So that is the important point. Copper T that is not able to prevent the woman from sexually transmitted diseases. Next question. How does the uterus prepare to receive the fertilized egg in woman? What happens if egg does not fertilize? Explain. One of the important question. So this type of question is repeated in many question paper, like how the uterus get ready to receive the fertilized egg, or about the placenta. So that is also a very important question. Uterus prepares every month to receive and nurture the embryo. The lining becomes thick and spongy. It has rich supply of blood to nourish the embryo. Then, if the egg is not fertilized, it lives for about 1 day. The lining of the uterus slowly breaks down and comes out through the vagina as a blood and mucus. This cyclic process occurring every month is called as a menstruation. So, this cyclic process takes place every month. So, if the egg, which is it is not fertilized, then the endometrium of the uterus slowly breaks down, and which comes in the form of blood and mucus. So this process takes place if the egg is not fertilized. Next question. How does menstruation occur? How the process of budding in hydra is different from biofilm? How does menstruation occur? The lining of the uterus slowly breaks down and comes out through the vagina as a blood and mucus. This cyclic process occurring every month is called as a menstruation. Then here, how does the process of budding in hydra different from budding in bryophyllum? Here, the hydra buds, so they are at the specific budding zone, while in the bryophyllum, the buds form on the leaves. And number of buds. Bryophyllum has more buds than the hydra. More buds are formed on the leaves of the bryophyllum. So that is the main difference. Next question. Explain the development of fertilized egg into fetus in women. In humans, how the surgical contraceptive methods can be used to prevent the pregnancy. Please note down this question. Here, the uterus prepares every month to receive to receive and nurture the embryo. The male and female gametes fusion takes place at the fallopian tube, and they further development of they divide further, and the embryo that attaches to the uterus, the walls of the uterus, and the lining of the uterus that become thick and spongy, and which has the blood supply to nourish the embryo. And the placenta is a shaped special tissue embedded in the uterine wall, and it connects the fetus to the mother. So like that, which helps for the nourishment of the embryo. In humans, how the surgical contraceptive methods can be used to prevent the pregnancy. Here, the vas deferens is blocked to prevent the sperm transfer, that is called as vasectomy. And in female, fallopian tube is blocked to prevent the egg reaching the uterus, that is the tubectomy. Next question. Explain the significant function of each structure in human male reproductive system. Please note down this question. This is also one of the important question. Here, the testes in this the germ cells means sperms are formed. Testes are located in the scrotum because the sperm formation require lower temperature than the body temperature. And testes also secrete hormone testosterone. It helps for the regulation of formation of the sperms, and changes occur during the puberty, that is also responsible for the testosterone hormone is responsible for this. Then, vas deferens to deliver the sperms which invites the urethra coming from the urinary bladder. Thus urethra forms the common passage for the sperms and the urine. And along the path of vasa deferens, glands like prostate and seminal vesicles release the some fluid secretions, and these are mixed with sperms to form the semen. It makes the sperm transport easier and provides the nutrition. A sperm consists of genetic material along a long tail that helps to move towards uh, j- the female germ cell, that is towards the egg. So uh, that is about the male reproductive system. You have to explain about the testes, and also about the vas deferens, and the some important glands, and um, some structures which are included in the male reproductive system. Okay, that is also important one. Next question. Explain the structure and important role of placenta during the pregnancy period of woman. So that is also same question, but this is very important topic. Repeatedly questions are asked on this topic about the placenta and male reproductive system and how the menstruation cycle occurs. So these all are very important questions for your exam. Yes, which helps to the embryo to get the nutrition from the mother's blood and transport the glucose and oxygen from the mother to the embryo, removes the waste from embryo into mother's blood. Development of the child, so that takes place with the help of the uh, that placenta. Next question. How will an organism be benefited if it reproduce through spores? How will an organism be benefited if it reproduces through spores? Huge numbers of spores are produced at a time, and distribution of spores are very easy by A to 4 of places. Avoid the competition at the one place, and spores can store genetic information for very long time as they are covered by thick walls to prevent the dehydration and the other unfavorable conditions for new ones development. So that is the advantages of the spore formation. Next question. How is the process of pollination different from the fertilization? How pollination is different from the fertilization? Here, pollination, that is the transfer of pollen grains to the stigma of the pistil, termed as pollination. Fusion of male and female gametes, so that is called as a fertilization, and pollinating agents like insects, wind or water assist the process. Pollen tube carries the male gametes to the female gamete in plants, and in animals sperms swim through the body fluids in reproductive tract of the female to reach the egg. So that is the differences between the pollination and the fertilization. Next question. What are the changes seen in girls at the time of puberty? At the time of puberty, the breast size begins to increase with darkening of the skin of the nipples at the tips of the breast, and menstrual cycle starts. A thick hair starts growing in the genital area between the thighs and armpits. A pimples develop on the face, widening of hips occurs. The skin frequently becomes oily. So these are the some changes that these are also called as secondary sexual characters develop during the puberty in females. Write the two differences between the binary fission and the multiple fission. Here, binary fission, the parent organism splits to form two new organisms, example amoeba and paramecium. In case of the multiple fission, the parent organism splits to form many new organisms at the same time. That is, example is plasmodium. So that performs the multiple fission. Then the nucleus of the parent body divides only once to produce the nuclei, two nuclei. The nucleus of the parent body divides repeatedly to produce the many nuclei. So that is the difference between the binary fission and the multiple fission. Next question. What happens when accidentally planaria get cuts into many pieces? Bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil and see on maturation sporangia of the rhizopus burst. Here accidentally when the planaria gets cut into many pieces, the each piece will develop into new planaria. That is the regeneration of planaria takes place. Means the planaria, the parts of the planaria that develop into new organisms. Bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil which develop into a new plant, and on the maturation sporangia of rhizopus burst and the spores which reach the substratum and develop into a new organism. Yes, so this is the example. When planaria accidentally get cuts into many pieces, then each piece grows into complete organism. This is known as a regeneration. When the bryophyllum leaf falls on the wet soil, the buds present in the notches also the leaf margin develop into new plants. This is vegetative propagation. Then the sporangia of the rhizopus contain cells or the spores, and when the uh, when this burst out, the spores which reach the substratum and develop into a new rhizopus individual. So these are the some questions, important questions related to this chapter. Okay, so dear students, I will stop the class here. If you have any doubts, you can write down in the comment box. Thank you. We'll continue in the next class. Thank you.